Yeah, so you make lures? You make fishing
Yeah.
lures?
Yeah. So the guy who invented the rubber worm for fishing was David DeLong. He was from like a couple miles down the road from where I'm at right now. And we bought his business 4 years ago. And
Oh,
now we just make everything from like panfish baits, bass baits, all the way to musky stuff, like huge lures. So yeah, it's an interesting business to be in. I enjoy it.
what year did he invent the rubber worm?
1946, and I still have the original prototype actually here at the shop from when he invented it, and all of his catalogs, all of his patent papers, all that stuff.
That's cool. I knew it must have been a long time ago because I was fishing with him when I was a little kid, and I was a little kid in the 70s.
Mhm.
The lake I grew up on, I feel like it was probably lore, but people swore that purple crawlers were the bee's knees for largemouth bass.
Yeah, yeah. We get the color of the purple, the classic purple, and then the brown with the gray belly is always the one that the old timers buy. I just call it if you know, you know. I don't think I've had a single person buy them under the age of 65, but they buy them like crazy when they buy them. So
Yeah. So, like when I think of a rubber worm, I just think I think this about a lot of fishing terminal tackle. That when people use something like a rubber worm instead of a real worm, it's because of the convenience. Would you agree with that?
yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I mean, even one of the things I sell the most of is I make basically wax worms that already have rubber wax worms that already have hooks in them, and people buy them like crazy because it's just easier to fish with their kids.
Oh, but man, aren't you giving up a lot in terms of the scent?
So we actually put David DeLong was the first guy to put anise oil in his plastic. So we mix anise in there, and that kind of makes up for it. But at the same time, like I get what you're saying. Like I grew up just using wax worms. In fact, when I fish for bluegill with my kids, I make them put a wax worm on their hook. I'm not letting
Yeah.
them get away with not doing that.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? The best like I do a lot of ice fishing for panfish. I'm a panfish specialist. I have a cabin in Alaska I go to and fish for big stuff like a week a year. But other than that, I just like catching small fish through the ice a lot of the time. I think it's a culinary thing more than anything. I just love perch and bluegills. But perch,
Yeah,
man, I just don't think there's any better bait than an eyeball.
we make you talk about convenience. We make a soft plastic eyeball that's scented, and so that people because like you got to catch one and then scoop the
Yeah,
eyeball
yeah,
out.
yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
people they don't want to do that anymore. So I
yeah,
sell a ton of them during ice fishing season. You
yeah.
know,
So I don't know if you've looked into me at all, and if you have, then I gotta think that your shirt is designed to like inflame me. It says kill shot. Does this say
it's a
coffee?
it.
Kill shot coffee?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's one of the
okay.
businesses I own.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah. And I've listened to your podcast. Like I've listened to your podcast in the past. I listened to a few episodes recently. I kind of
Oh, okay.
like circle through like about 30 podcasts. It helps me write, hear different people's perspectives. I agree
Yeah,
with,
yeah,
don't agree,
yeah,
all that.
yeah,
So that's what I do.
yeah. So where do you live?
Ohio, near the Akron area, but away from the
Hmm.
city.
Okay, okay. And the reason I reached out to you is because I saw this thing you wrote that was critical of the Mule Deer Foundation.
It was so I was more critical of MOGA, the Montana Outfitters and Guides Association, than anything. There was one
Okay.
reference to the Mule Deer Foundation. There was I wrote a lot, and it's actually become more of me digging into Montana politics. I mean, I found the shadiest, dirtiest things in Montana. In fact, I'll back up just a little bit. One thing that I've done like I looked into CWD research. I read a bunch of like research papers. I read, I talk to experts. I do all that. I looked into the National Deer Association, which I
Oh,
think is the biggest.
that's what I meant. Not the Mule Deer Foundation. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
I
sorry.
was wondering if that's what it was. Yeah, the
Yeah.
National Deer Association. I think it's the biggest NGO scam in the hunting industry right now. I mean,
Oh,
how do
well,
you lose
that's
97?
why I reached out to you because like I don't. I'm gonna let you, I'm excited to learn what you know and hear about what you're up to. Just a couple things, and then I'm gonna let you go, and I'll just ask clarifying questions. But I'm very skeptical of conservation nonprofits. I think hunting based conservation nonprofits. I'm not real skeptical of like the Nature Conservancy,
Mhm.
or any kind of conservation organization that's just about conservation. But when you mix in the hunting, those orgs I'm concerned about. And so that I want to hear what your concerns are with them. The reason my concerns are born about we did a deep dive on Turkey Federation a while back. Did you see that? Hear that podcast?
I didn't see that one, but I get so many questions about them. I'm going to dig into them.
It's like episode 144 or 145.
144.
And it was a deeply researched episode, and I came away feeling, the title of the episode is something like our NWTF is a highly corrupt and or incompetent organization or something like that. I don't remember, but that was being just. I mean, that was being generous because, let's say that you're trying to decide if some entity is unjust or corrupt. Like you can kind of sort through it by if the perplexing, disturbing decisions they make are always in their favor. Like that everything makes them look better than they actually are. Like if they were merely incompetent, some of the decisions and dishonesty, whatever, mistakes would make them look worse than they actually are. But when every single thing we covered that was not true makes them look better than they actually are, it starts to feel more like corruption than incompetence. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, I see the same thing with the National Deer Association.
Okay.
100%. I mean, I wondered the same thing. Is it incompetence or just like corruption, or what is it? That was one of my main questions going in, because I didn't know.
So what got you starting to look into this sort of thing? MOGA, like Montana politics, the Deer Association. I want to get into what you know, and I want to hear all about it, but I'm just trying to give the listener and myself like a general understanding of what started you down this path of looking into this kind of thing. So have you hunted in Montana? You like to hunt in Montana? Is it?
I've never hunted in Montana. Like I've hunted a lot of places. I did not mean to get into the Montana fight. I really, really didn't. So it all kind of started like 10 years ago. We started this. It was just a YouTube thing, a bunch of just dumb redneck kids with GoPros recording rabbit hunting is what it was. We had some viral videos. We made some social media stuff, and it was.
How do you get a viral rabbit hunting video?
So we didn't get. So what happened was we made some rabbit hunting videos. It's got like 70,000 views on YouTube. That wasn't the viral one. What happened was I took that same camera that I spent a bunch of money on and recorded my grandma shooting a deer at 80 years old, and it went crazy across the internet. Oh, and that went viral.
That's kind of cute. Also, I mean, I don't like hunting media, but that's kind of cute. I'll give Granny a pass.
Yeah. It was. She taught me how to shoot. She taught me shooting safety as a kid. She taught a bunch of people shooting safety and those sorts of things. But what really took off was we were just doing some fun content on Facebook. You know, we were wax star hunters, right? We're just it was actually kind of after Ted Nugent because we just thought like, oh yeah, this wild, crazy guitar player is wild and nuts, and and so it was like a fun thing.
How old
Well,
are
what
you?
happened was I'm 38.
Did you ever go to the Whiplash Bash?
No, no, I haven't. No,
You know what it is?
one of his concerts, right? Like he had the big back
Yeah,
in the
he
day,
would
right?
have them around Christmas every year. And he would have one in Battle Creek, Michigan, one in Detroit. I know he had one in, I shouldn't say, I'm with 95% confidence he had one or more in Ohio every year. And it was just like 10,000 dudes in camo. And he would set down his guitar in the middle of a song while the bass player and the drummer were still playing, and he'd pick up his bow and he'd like a target would roll out on the stage and he'd shoot it. One year a white buffalo comes out on the stage and he shoots at it 3 times and misses all 3 shots, I think deliberately, and then gets down on his hands and knees and worships it.
He's a super eccentric guy. He actually called me. He called me like a month ago.
You talked to the Whack Master.
I did. It was super fun. Like he's like such a great, like he's a wide, that's who he is. Everybody knows who that guy is. And when he called me, it was actually because like I was receiving a lot of political pressure myself because of some of the stuff I'm writing about now, the CWD stuff. I had ODNR officers show up to my shop. All my businesses got audited. It got real political.
Whoa.
And yeah, like I had to take a step back and I wrote a post saying, hey, I got to be smart. I've talked to these really high attorneys that, I mean, these people go all the way to the top levels of government. I help in state politics here in Ohio. And so some people were like, hey, be careful. I wrote a post like, hey, I got to take a step back. I got to be real careful because I got a wife and kids. I have these businesses that provide for me. This social media is a little bit, but like these other businesses are being audited. And I said, I got to take a step back. And then he called me and said, hey, Steven, you're on the right track. Because me and him agree a lot on the CWD issue. Like, I think that how the game agencies have handled it is one of the dumbest things I've seen in the game agency policies in my lifetime. And, and again, that connects to the National Deer Association. But he ended up giving me a call. He texts me occasionally. Yeah, I get to talk to the Whack Master himself. It's pretty cool to talk to him, But
yeah, you're making a ruckus. You're making a ruckus. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I asked, like, why you're doing what you're doing, well, because I just have a lot of love in my heart for people that think that there's some fucked up shit in the hunting and fishing space and care enough to do something about it. Because I believe that there's a lot of things that are messed up with hunting and fishing. And I've never seen a period in my life where it's ever gotten better. It's only gotten worse.
Mm-hmm.
Even at our cabin in Alaska, it gets worse. Nothing but worse, worse, worse. And what I mean is tighter bag limits, more crowded, less success, harder to get tags. And that's the era we're living in. That's what defines modern hunting and fishing to me, is that we are in the era of free fall decline in people's opportunity to pursue what they want when they want. And nobody of any consequence says anything about it. It just blows me away. Like, how in the hell can you be a hunting promoter right now is like one thing. And maybe you are a hunting promoter, and I talk to all kinds. Okay. All right.
Well, so let me clarify that. So for what I do, one thing that's really interesting about me, I don't have any sponsors, right? Like I have 1.2 million followers. I do a lot of writing. I don't record my own hunts. I don't show off spots. I do some recording of my fishing, but like I don't like I and again, I get hundreds of millions of views a month on Facebook, a couple million views on YouTube. I could have a lot of sponsors, but the thing that comes along with sponsors,
I only have 24,000 and I got people reaching out to me. I can't imagine,
yeah.
The offers you get.
Well, the industry doesn't exactly like me. So to go all the way back to when I first was doing, it was the huntingnews.com. So we had the pages, then we had a blog, and then the blog all went away at 2020. But when we had the blog, which was the huntingnews.com, I posted, like, I didn't care about the money. And we were making our top ad spot was, we'd get like these third-party advertisers, they'd run ads on our website, and we would write blogs. Well, because people get real chatty with me. They send me all sorts of insider information. Somebody sent me a memo sent out by Cabela's that said, hey, if anybody shoots an animal in Africa, don't post the pictures. And I said, well, I'm going to post this.
Wait. They're sending this to who? Their employees?
All of their pro staff. And it wasn't all. So to be fair to them, what happened was it wasn't a corporate thing. It was one store sent it out. There was a guy who shot some sort of monkey and it went viral. And so they were trying to stop the
was
backlash.
it the dude that was on that dude used to be on the Idaho Game and Fish Commission.
Yes. Yeah. That's the one. And they sent out a memo. I posted the memo on the website and said, hey, look, do you stand with African hunting or not? Like, what do you really think? Like, I don't hesitate to post anything I want. And so what happened was their COO called me, their head of marketing. And I was just a dude with 100,000 followers.
It was a baboon. It was a family of baboons. But
yeah, that's what it was. A family of baboons. You're right. So what happened
Which
was
is fucking why in the fuck would you put that on? I mean, come on. But anyway, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting, but it's just it's just so perverted,
Yeah.
I think it's perverted to even shoot. I'm a hunter, and I think it's perverted to shoot a family of baboons. It's I can't imagine shooting stuff that looks that much like a dude, and then being hey, I'm going to show the whole world. And then what do you do? Then what do you do? Throw them in the ditch? After that, you just throw them in the ditch and hey.
I mean, you're not eating them? I mean, you got to eat them.
I don't know.
Right?
I guess people probably eat
I'm
baboon.
not eating them.
No, that's how you get. That's how you get a prion diseases.
Yes, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, but anyways, I posted it out there hey, this is what I'll post whatever I don't care. I don't care who I piss off because I don't need the money from social media, especially back then. I had a really good job. I posted it and people started posting all these screenshots of Cabela's ads across the top of my website and then me talking about what Cabela's is doing, and then they dropped them.
Wait a minute. So that dude was affiliated with Cabela's?
I don't know if he was or not, but they sent out a memo in response to that. I don't remember if he was affiliated with them or not.
But they're holy.
Too long
okay,
ago.
So a Cabela's outlet. Let me just see if I got this straight.
Mm-hmm.
Saw how much shit this guy was getting for his baboon post, and that not the whole company, but one outlet said, "Hey, man, employees of this outlet in Topeka, Kansas, or wherever the hell." I doubt there's a Cabela's store in Topeka. We're maybe there's, but they're hey man, if you go hunting in Africa, and maybe this outlet had a bunch of employees that were safari hunters. So they were concerned. Yeah. So they said, let's just keep the giraffes and the lions and the dicks and
put it on the down low.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, the industry didn't like me back then. I've posted whatever I wanted. I care way more about my freedom to say whatever I want than I do about money. Again, I have, we talked about DeLong at the beginning. I have DeLong. I have the coffee company. I have, I'm fine. I don't need the social media money. So I've turned away all possibilities of, especially at this time. I'm not saying I'd never take a sponsor that was hey man, say whatever you want and let me just wear my camo and your stuff. I wear random people's stuff. And again, people send me free stuff all the time. I make viral videos for small hunting companies, that sort of thing that I just do it for free. But that's kind of how the reason why the hunting industry never really liked me. And so I get less endorsement opportunities than you might think. Like especially from the big companies. The big companies, I'm too controversial, right? Like recently, I've been going after literally a sitting state senator, Wiley Galt in Montana. Like right, like I'm putting his face online and showing what he's doing. Like these big companies don't want that controversy, and I understand it. I don't care.
Yeah, it's funny to me that that's the kind of thing. Like, and the reason you're putting these people on blast is because they're bad for hunting and fishing and access. But and the hunting industry won't touch you. Like the mainstream hunting industry won't touch you because of that. But they'll platform people that are convicted poachers. Like Cabela's
that's a good point.
Cabela's has a deal with Josh Bomar.
Oh, you want to hear something funny about that?
Oh, and that you know who Matt Alwine is?
Matt, I've heard that name.
He had this show, Trophy State of Mind. We just podcasted about.
I know that.
Yeah, and he had all kinds of trespassing and like feigning residency and all this shit. He's teamed up with like Savage and Loopold and or the Muley Freak guy for that matter. So it's like, oh, yeah, it's okay if you've poached, but not if you go after a politician, which is weird because it seems like they'd be okay because they'd go, I don't give a fuck. This guy's got a big audience. That's what it seems like. These guys, they probably hold their nose as they're, doing business with Josh Bomar, I would think. But anyway.
Yeah. No, so Josh Bomar actually, like, because somebody from the when he got his poaching charge, like, and look, my daughter used to watch his wife's turkey hunting videos, and I like watching turkey hunting videos with my daughter. I love hunting with her and both of my kids, but they they sent me the inside information. Like somebody called me and said, "Hey, I'm sitting here right now, just so you know, they're about to get charged with poaching." And so I did a story on it because I don't care, and I'll post anything that's happening. If it's true, it's true. Like let's hash this stuff out. Let's if any corruption in the hunting industry, and I'm not even saying anything bad about them, but if you want to say something bad about them, there's plenty to, like, a lot of people call me about them, but I'm not even trying to be critical right now. I got this call. I messaged his wife on Instagram. I got blocked. I posted the post. His attorney calls me. I was on the phone with his attorney for hours, like talking to him about the poaching case and what it was, because I was just trying to get the facts and show them to people.
Was he getting thick on you?
Like me. Was he? He's talked crap about me on a podcast. He doesn't even want to say my name. He'll call me.
Oh, I meant the attorney. Was the attorney like, you need to stand down, little soldier?
A little bit, until he got my personality isn't one to stand down. I'm not like if you're coming at me, like, I immediately want to go 100 times harder. I really do. And so at first he's kind of was like, "Hey, this isn't right. The Lacey Act is used for all this and that, and it's corrupt." And I went, "Okay, but did he do it?" And then he immediately backed down. We talked for a while. I told him I'd write whatever they wanted. Like, "Hey, give me their side of the story too. I will post it. It'll get 1 million views. People want to hear about it. Let's get both sides out there, and people can decide for themselves. People are adults. They can look at the facts and decide for themselves." And
one would like to think. What one would like to think.
Right.
Okay, so I'm starting to get a sense of how you ended up doing what you do. There's a million directions we could go next. Tell me about the Deer Association.
Okay, so the National Deer Association used to be QDMA. I was a member of QDMA.
Quality Deer Management Association?
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was a member. And I liked it. They had this Deer Steward 1 class. I took it. My mom's got 100 acres. I'm from Ohio. 100 acres is a lot out here.
Oh,
for you guys,
man.
That's nothing.
Oh, that's so much land in the Midwest. Well, I was raised in Michigan.
Yeah.
So yeah. I know. I understand. Like, that's a universe of whitetail deer and turkey opportunity.
Yeah. And we have we're in the middle of big buck country here in Ohio. Our county is like a great big buck county. And, like I took that class. I was trying to manage for big bucks. I was in that time of my life where I was like, my kids weren't hunting yet. So I was like, I switched from a crossbow to a recurve, and I was going after big bucks with recurves. I was managing, I was hinge cutting, I was putting in food plots. I was doing the whole like whitetail, like obsessive whitetail guy thing at that point.
What's hinge cutting?
So, like, basically, you cut a tree halfway through, a little over halfway through. You tip it over so it stays alive. It lets the sun come in and hit the ground, but it also gives the deer a lot of nutrition.
Oh, that's
so
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's so the tree turns into a bush.
Yes. Yeah. Great for rabbit hunting too, which I love.
Oh yeah. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of the lakes as such. That's cool. And then you get some understory plants, some grasses and forbs, because there's more light. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and it has, and that gives higher protein density, which for the plants that grow gives bigger racks. People are talking about passing bucks. I was at that stage in my life at that point, so I went and I liked the organization. Well, from the time I was a part of it, it was like, so say like 2018, 2019, that time. So from 2019 till 2024, I believe, at the end of 2024, the National Deer Association, they switched, they changed names, they completely destroyed the organization, and they went from getting hunter dollars and backing hunters to being like almost entirely government funded. So now their customer isn't the hunter anymore. It's the government.
Yeah, okay.
It's pushing the government policies. And I have contracts in like all sorts of things to prove what they're doing is so corrupt. And so what I did, so I started looking into them because somebody, my little brother Spencer, actually, he sent me this thing going, hey, I heard that the Missouri Department of Conservation is just sending massive amounts of money to the National Deer Association. And it seems really weird. Can you look into it? So I've done, to take one step back, I said that I help state level politicians. I did a Doge program here in Ohio where I looked through the Ohio budget, right? Like looking for crazy spending, right? I found, money goes to the Pink Tutu project. That's a real line item in our budget. The Columbus Gay Men's Choir gets $50,000 a year. It's like,
wait, were you associated with
like
Doge, or do you mean like it was analogous to
I was just,
you were,
I was helping out a state rep.
Okay. You were doing a state level Doge analog. That's cool. Pink tutus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
They get like $5,000 a year. It's not a lot, but it's still, why is the Pink Tutu project getting money? That's just the funniest one, in my opinion.
Oh, no.
So I learned how to do that.
It's infuriating, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They're taxing grandmas out of their homes in this state from property taxes, but we're giving $50,000 to the Columbus Gay Men's Choir. It's like, be as gay as you want and sing as much as you want. I don't care, but you don't get money.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I believe in supporting the arts, but if they're giving it to them just because they're gay,
yeah, weird.
I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway,
you know what I'm saying? Like, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's an aside. Well, I'll leave that there. But I do think that art makes society better. That's all I'm saying. But
yeah, I'm not against art. I'm just against taxing grandmas out of their homes to pay for it. And that's the problem we have.
Maybe there should be no public funding for the arts. I don't know. That's not something. Forget it. I'm just like I'm prone to going on tangents, but anyway.
Me too. I talk too much. But anyway, so what happened with the National Deer Association? I learned this skill of how to file public records requests, of how to look into state budgets, of how to like what you can and can't see. And I developed this skill over a few months by working with the state government here and with specific state politicians. And we, like I said, we had that blog before. And then we were just kind of posting content online. And I looked at my business partner, Aaron. He's a Purple Heart vet. He runs the Sportsman Party on Facebook. He does a lot of the news stuff. We do a lot of writing. Again, we don't like film our hunts, but we do a lot of writing. And I said, you know what we should do? Let's do short form writing. Like short form videos are doing really well. People are losing attention spans. Let's just do writing at like 1 or 2 paragraphs at a time and like really dig into some topics.
Wait, can you start over? Can you start over? I wasn't getting that.
Okay, so
basically I'm joking. I'm done with a joke. All right, carry on.
Sometimes I talk too fast.
No. You're clear as a bell. You're extremely lucid. I'm getting you. I was just joking. All right, I'm gonna try to get more serious here. All right, I'm listening.
I start writing these posts back in like September, and I realized I'm kind of onto something with it, and it goes viral. I mean, I started averaging 300 million views a month on Facebook. I mean, like crazy numbers.
Wait, this is about the National Deer Association?
That was so okay. So first it was just writing. Come October, I wrote about CWD once.
Okay, we got 3 hanging chads right
Yeah.
now that we got to get to. NDA, CDT, and MOGA.
CWD, yeah.
Well, CWD, CDT.
Yeah.
There's for
Let's start with
control.
that one.
Wait, which one?
The CWD.
Okay. Well, okay. I thought we were doing it
segues in perfectly.
Okay.
It segues in perfectly.
So I'm just writing these down just to make sure we do these. CWD, MOGA, and NDA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't talked about MOGA yet on a podcast. So this is going to be exclusive to here. But we'll start with CWD because it segues into NDA and then that segues into MOGA real easily. So with CWD, I put up a post. It was one of those things where I didn't have a really fully formed opinion yet, but like I call it CWD 19 right now because like when you look at it, I was looking at what the game agencies were doing. Oh yeah, the game agencies love when I say that. They get really angry. I looked at it and I go, I don't know what I believe. I don't know what's real, what's not real, but I know what I'm being told by the game agencies. I know I'm being told lies. Like I know this doesn't make sense. That's what I know that for sure.
What are you being told and how do you know it's not true?
So we're being told you got to kill all the deer to save them. We're being told, we need social distancing for deer, no corn piles, no salt licks, which I don't hunt over corn piles or salt licks, but still like nothing added up. We were told for 15 years, right? There's a big study, the big Wyoming study that was done in 2010. It was like for 15 years, we've been told that this is going to crush our deer populations. And I haven't seen any evidence of it at all. That was my problem. I'm seeing no evidence. So I put that out in just kind of a general post. It's 2 paragraphs. It's in like October. I put a picture, and I'm being a little trolly here. I'm going to admit that. But I picked a picture of a deer that had EHD, who was sick and was emaciated and dying. And I wrote EHD. Then I found a picture. I literally Googled healthy looking deer and put it right next to it and wrote CWD on that one. And just basically said, I don't know what's real or not real. I know that I'm being lied to. I know that the information coming out from the game agencies, something doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, and I'm going to investigate it. 15 million views immediately. Everybody messaging me, calling me, emailing me, going, hey, man, look into this, look into that. And I went, oh, I stepped into a lot of people are feeling the exact same way I'm feeling, just nobody's talking about it. So I took a step back. I actually did one more post the next day, did another 10 or 12 million views because people were so interested. So I stopped and I started reading all of these studies. I read every CWD study I could find, reading what's happening, checking out all these deer population studies, all of that stuff. And what I found was that the policies that these game agencies are pushing, to your point from just a minute ago, bring it full circle to that, over the last 20 years, show me the wins from these game agents. Show them to me. We had 100 years of wins, from time Teddy Roosevelt, Pittman Roberts, Dingle Johnson, you had recovering populations. Since the year 2000, what are the wins? We have declining, the caribou are completely gone from the lower 48. Moose are struggling in the Northeast. Deer populations peaked in the 90s. Turkey populations peaked in 2004. I mean, what do we have? We have more wolves.
Not much. I mean, if you were gonna make their argument for them, and there's some validity to it, that there's a lot of pressures on wildlife now, but but that's not to. We don't have any wins. We don't have many wins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have a lot of losses, not many wins.
Yeah.
And so like when I was looking into CWD, I read everything I could get my hands on, and I started writing about it. Back in December, I would write like a post a day about it, and they would all go viral. People were, I was looking into all the research, put it all out there. But that aside, I mean, we could talk about that for hours and it'd probably be boring. But that segues into the National Deer Association because you started out curious. Mm-hmm.
And unsure, but certainly by now you're starting to have an opinion.
Yeah, I've got an
At
opinion,
this point. Now, I mean, yeah, now you clearly do. I just meant as you start to dig in. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I carry on however you see fit, but I do want to see what that opinion, what that viewpoint is, and how you arrived at it.
Okay, so yeah, we'll finish that point. This is a tendency I have to do because of how I think. Like I just like go from one thing to another. So let's finish the CWD thing. What I've seen is I this jumps forward a little bit. We'll come back. I interviewed Jason Sumners, the head of the Missouri Department of Conservation, and he cited the Wyoming study, right? We talked about the Arkansas study, which is a population density study. We talked about the Wyoming study, which I hadn't read. So I read the Wyoming study. This was the big one in my interview with him. He even says, he's like, yeah, man, this study, back in 2010, we looked at what happened in Wyoming. We saw that study and we said, man, we got to do something about this, which was, I think at the time, kind of reasonable back in 2010. And so I read the entire study from beginning to end. And the prediction, and if you look at figure 3 under the conclusions, you'll see it right there. I mean, they make all these predictions. And what they said was that you would have a halving of the population every 5 years. That was 2010. Now looking at 2025, I just said, okay, well, what's happened? If you go by their exact numbers, there should only be 19.2% of the deer left in the Area 65 of Wyoming, which is where this study was conducted. Right?
Oh, very interesting. Okay.
Yes. So I said, well, okay, let's look at Area 65. How many? There can't be a deer season there now if they have. There's nowhere. I don't think there's anywhere in the United States where if you lose over 80% of your deer, you still have a season. So I'm going. There can't be hunting there. So I looked into it. They were still shooting deer. So then I had to file public records to get their harvest data from 2010 all the way through 2025. I get it. And if you look at 2010 when the study was done to 2025. They shot 2 more deer in 2025 than 2010. So it didn't come true. Yeah, it blew me away. I almost didn't believe it. There's ups and downs in the middle there, obviously, which is normal for deer populations of anything, but it's the exact same. And I even tried to break it down by bucks or does. They move the goalposts all the time. And it is true that bucks were 6% down, and does there was 2 extra does or 3 extra doe shots, something like that. But it was all within that margin of error. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, that's when my opinion really solidified. When I went, nah, you guys got it wrong. It's time to go back and look at this. The numbers, the predictions didn't happen, and this was the study that all these game agencies based these policies on.
But
so what are we doing?
But by your own admission, there's been a lot of research since then because you said you've read it. And there's nothing in the remainder of it that strikes you as anything but propaganda?
So not really. So there was an interesting study out of Arkansas. The Arkansas study, it just came out. And there's one coming out from Wisconsin I'm really curious about, but that hasn't been published yet. The one from Arkansas, this is what Jason Sumners quoted to me when we interviewed. He said, well, look, there's all these deer dying in Arkansas. Look at the deer population. He cites it. And fortunately, I already read that study, so I knew how to respond. In that area it was Area 1 or Unit 1. I forget how they phrase it. But in that area, they took tags from 2 to 5. And then he specifically quoted
2 to 5 what?
Deer per year per person.
Oh,
okay.
They increased.
They increase.
Okay. While there's supposedly this serious epidemic happening, they allowed people to shoot 150% more deer.
Yeah, not only that, they gave out basically unlimited depredation tags to farmers who are going to shoot a lot of deer. And he specifically cited, and a lot of people cite this when they talk about that study, saying, oh, well, look, there's less bucks. Look at the buck population. Buck population's falling even more. Well, they eliminated antler point restrictions. So people just started shooting all these small bucks. You can't sit there and say, oh, well, the deer population is falling when I'm watching your policy say, hey, shoot a bunch more deer. You know, that doesn't make sense. So it's dishonest in my opinion.
Okay. 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any reason for concern in your mind at all about CWD? Is it Do you think it's just completely not worth being concerned about? Or do you think that there's some reason to be concerned, but it's just overblown?
I would say there's some reason to be concerned, but it's overblown. But let me clarify that in saying that there's not. I've eaten CWD positive meat. I found somebody who had a CWD positive deer, got their meat, and specifically ate it on a video because I'm not worried about that. So
Okay,
that's
well,
not a
yeah,
worry.
but that's okay. But up until this point, and I would do the same.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about that. I've had a good long run, and if I shoot a deer and it tests positive, I'm gonna eat it. It's just, but we were talking about population issues.
Yeah. Yes. So the population, no. If I'm going to be completely honest and completely fair from all the data I've seen, there is a slight. So Wisconsin's kind of the easiest way to make this point. When in 2012 they were dealing with CWD a little bit, but now their prevalence rates are really high. If you look at their deer population, their statewide population was like 1,020,000. In 2025, at the end of the deer season, it was 1.8 something million, right? So their deer population is increasing, but the older buck population, you can find all this information on the Wisconsin DNR website. It's really easy to go through. Anybody can check this. And the buck population, especially the older buck population, is going up, but at a slower rate. So when they say older bucks might be dying off over time, like to a certain extent, there may be a tiny bit of concern if you're like, hey man, I got to get my 200-inch buck. Like that guy there might be a few less of those out there. Maybe. But I think it's a legitimate thing to say. You know, I don't want to say that it's not true, but it's a small percentage.
Certainly not. It certainly doesn't concern me. And and I'm like you were when you first started looking into it. I mean, you know, I listen to what people have to say. I read, and then I adjust my viewpoint. And you're pushing me. You're updating my Bayesian prior distribution to be a little less concerned about it. So that's cool. So then the other obvious question, and I think you're going to say something about the insurance companies, maybe something else, is why? Why?
I think there's two
why
things.
would smart people make us more alarmed than we should be?
There's two things. One is
disease.
Okay, so the insurance company things gets a little conspiratorial for me. Now, I've sat inside of these. I've been to these fancy government,
Just will you lay out would you lay out the insurance company thing for anybody that?
Yeah. So basically, if you're paying out insurance claims and there's a bunch of deer being hit, and I know like
auto, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So cars are hitting deer like crazy. If you go through Ohio, Michigan, where you grew up, I mean, you go in October, November, there's just deer just all down the expressway. They're everywhere. And if those deer populations like Wisconsin go from 1 million to 1.8 million, you have a lot more claims. There's a financial incentive for insurance companies to want less deer. And I'm not saying, I don't have any hard proof that there's some grand conspiracy to say, hey, we got to get the deer down so we can save money. These people are too smart for that. You know, they're lobbying politicians. And if you're a hammer, everything's a nail. So if, you're an insurance company, every deer needs to die so you're not paying out more claims. I think that's a reasonable perspective.
Yeah.
So that's that part of it. So
what are the other elements? Why else are there a lot of smart people sounding the alarm?
So what we talked about earlier, what are the wins over the last 20 years, right? So if you're in the game agency and you're building your career, right? Jason Sumners is a brilliant politician, right? He's the head of the Missouri Department of Conservation. He's a great politician. I'm not saying that is a good or bad thing. I'm just saying he's built his career on CWD.
There's a lot of great evil people. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not even saying this guy's evil. This is the first I've ever heard of him, but yeah.
He's a nice guy. I talked to him for quite a while. Almost believable. He was so nice. But he's a politician. And these people in the game agencies, they don't have any wins to hang their hat on. But if they can look at you, and I think it's probably like a human thing maybe, where you want to feel like what you're doing is good work, right? Like everything we do, we want to feel like we're helping. And when they have a disease in front of them that scared them at first, it's real easy to just say, hey, man, we're going to save you from this. We're the heroes. We're going to come in and save you. And I think that is how this started, and reasonably so. Like I said, in 2010, it was reasonable to put restrictions to try to, slow the spread of CWD. That was reasonable.
Because your decision making in the face of uncertainty, when you don't know, you could like adopt a precautionary approach. So yeah, I agree. But it sounds like you're saying that subconsciously these folks might be going, aha, the CWD did it. It's not us. It's the disease did it. That's why we don't have any wins, which I'm open to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I think they want to do the right type of work. I'm not even criticizing them for having bad motives per se. It's just they never went back and checked their work. When you go back and check the population studies, when you check what's really going on, when you check the actual real world implications of CWD, you look at it and go, wait a second, this never happened. And I think that's the big problem with CWD now. And I think the tide's turning, though. It really is turning with, the general public's pushing back. And that's evidenced very clearly in Indiana.
Do you listen to my brother's show ever?
I've listened to a bunch of them. I listened to all like the first 100 episodes of it. I listen to it periodically.
Have you ever listened to him on CWD?
I listened to him on some clips, and I've seen him in the past talk about it a little bit. Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that? I mean, I'm estranged from my brother, and I don't listen to much hunting media. But I feel like he's concerned about it. Do you know if he is or not?
Yeah, he seems to be concerned about it. Also,
here's the thing. Here's why that pushes me more towards being concerned. Although you're getting to me, don't take this the wrong way. You're getting to me is that he's really smart.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I really agree. He's a super smart guy, and that's why I listened to. He actually influenced when I first was doing this. I was, like I said, I was. What was that, 10, 15 years ago, something. I was young, early 20s, 25 maybe, just acting like an idiot online. And some of the things he said actually influenced me in a very positive way of how I present hunting media even. So I have a lot of respect for what he does.
That's great.
And so, and I think that him getting Joe Rogan into hunting was maybe the best thing to get average people it's good for the average person to approve of it. But they don't actually really go hunting.
Okay. I think Rogan's the worst thing that's happened to hunting.
Let me make a counterpoint to that though, because I worked in a factory and there was so many guys that were like, because I believe. Let me take one step back again. I believe that we need to have the general public approving of hunting if we don't want to turn into California or Washington or now Colorado. And what happened there was a lot of average like factory workers and just normal dudes doing blue collar jobs looked at hunting, and it did get a lot of people into hunting. And I know your perspective on that, but it increased the approval rating of hunting, and a lot of those people.
Well, maybe, but the overall trend since Joe Rogan started hunting is down over the last 10 years.
76%.
Yeah, but it was like at 84. 10 years ago.
Oh, maybe it was. Maybe I'm wrong.
There's no maybe about it. It's like you can go look at it right now. The responsive management surveys are conducted every 2 years, and Americans' approval of hunting has done nothing but decline over the last decade. Now, you could make the argument that it would have declined more if not for Joe Rogan and Steve Rinella, but I don't know about that. I'm just saying if maybe they're stemming the tide of this massive decline in approval, but the approval has gone down. Now, let's be generous and say that without Rogan, Americans' approval of rates of approval of hunting would have declined more precipitously, then I just, that's not my primary concern.
Mm-hmm.
My primary concern is already realized. Like where I grew up, where I live now, in the 80s, it's a ranching community, all this ranch land around here. And in the Midwest, where I grew up, and where you live, there was way more land that was accessible to hunters, be it you went to the church with the farmer and he let you on. That's what was our situation growing up. Or out here, it was just if you knew a rancher and you banged on his door and said, hey, can I hunt? Even if you didn't know him, you had a pretty good shot of getting on. And it's not that way anymore. And I think it still would be that way if it wasn't for hunting media.
That's I don't know that I mean, it's hard to say if you're right or wrong on that for sure, but I know that when I was younger, I grew up with, like, my mom has 100 acres, but there was a 450 acre farm that we got to hunt until about 9-10 years ago. About 8 years ago. Yeah, it was 8 years ago. 2026. Yeah. So 8 years ago, we lost permission to hunt that because they started leasing it out. More people got into hunting. Like, your concerns are fully legitimate. I get that.
They're realized. So people like, mm-hmm. You're like, Rogan whitewashed hunting. And if he hadn't, it might become illegal. Meanwhile, 77% of Americans are. My threats, what I think the problems are, they actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what concerns me is already happening. That it's harder to draw a tag. That there's less and less places to go. I mean, that shit really is happening. Like, you remember about a year ago when Mike Lee, that senator from Utah, wanted to sell off 3 million acres?
Yeah.
Okay, well, people were up in arms and it didn't happen. But these leased land outfitting companies like Land Trust and Infinite Outdoors and hunting land owners, rental by owner, HLRBO, those companies have monopolized well over 2 million acres. They've turned that into pay hunting. Nobody says shit about that. And those 2 million acres have 15 times more game on them than anything Mike Lee would have sold off because it's prime farmland. These are realized threats. And in my mind, it is pretty obvious to me that wouldn't have happened without hunting promotion. And to argue otherwise, from my perspective, is to argue that advertising doesn't work. Like, when we advertise, we sell bows, sure, and side-by-sides, and guns, and camo. Oh, yeah, it does that. We move that. But selling the thing that's hardest to get, exclusive access to unfreaked out game, no, we don't cause a market for that. I mean, come on.
No, it is. No, what you're saying is it is real. I just think that there's a perspective.
It's the realest thing that could possibly be said about the impacts of hunting media. It creates and it rewards human beings' worse impulses. Like, I'm going to take this thing, hunting, and turn it into a source of fame and money. And to do that, it's going to require me making it so that I get to go places that other people don't. And if I've got money, that's what I'm going to do.
a lot of the hunting media is incredibly true. Again, I don't do any of that because I haven't received any.
I'm not pushing this out. I'm not saying that you do,
yeah. But no, I get what you're saying. I don't can entirely disagree.
So, but this whole thing started with you saying that Rogan's been good for hunting, and I don't want
hunting. I think
right, but that's
and maybe
that.
I don't know.
Oh, he sure has helped approval. Meanwhile, we don't have anywhere to go anymore because people like him creating a market for it. Like, I think ultimately the biggest risk might be that the public will no longer be accepting of hunting, and there'll be nobody to defend hunting, because who's going to give a shit about hunting when the only people that have quality hunting are people that pay a bunch of money, that can afford to pay a bunch of money for it?
It's getting
my entire reason for going public with my viewpoints is that I care about high quality, publicly accessible, non-pay hunting, and that I can't imagine. I would rather raise sheep or poach, or like the idea of paying to hunt it's just not hunting to me, you know? And when I look at what like a Rogan does to spend $20,000 to harvest an elk, that's not good for hunting. That's not a good role model. That's a role model for shit European hunting. That's what that is. And we can move on to the next thing, but like the idea, I just can't help when someone says that Rogan has been good for, and I'm somebody that likes Rogan, but like I like him. And I think he's smart, and I think there's things way more important than hunting, and he has a lot of valuable things to say about the world and politics and science. But when it comes to this domain, this little tiny domain that is important to 5% of the country, I think his overall net impact has been nothing but catastrophic. But anyway.
No, listen, it's a legitimate concern. I lost 80% of the land that I hunt, and now I have to pay for a lease to go hunt on. You know, like that's true.
And I believe that if hunting media had been confined to a few print magazines, you'd still be hunting on those places.
Probably, but what happens long term to the approval of hunting? Because hunting is political, and I guess that kind of segues into the National Deer
if you really can. Here's the thing: anybody that tells me that they're concerned about public perceptions of hunting and maintaining hunting rights and doesn't rail against people that put dead and dying animals on public facing platforms, I just can't take seriously. Do you know this country?
I get that.
Do you know? Well, if that's your concern, there's now a Pittman Robertson funded study showing that a lot of anti-hunting sentiment comes from social media. I've podcasted. Yeah, I'll send it to you. We've podcasted.
Yeah, send it to me.
Yeah. They had a focus group, and in the focus group, they had some focus group research where they'd show people a picture of an attractive woman holding a dead turkey, and the perceptions amongst non-hunters were overwhelmingly negative. They also did a huge survey, and through that survey, it became apparent that people that had seen dead and dying animal content online, that had skewed them to view hunting more negatively. Now, right now, as we speak, there's a controversy going on with this country music guy. Do you know about this?
Yeah, that shot the bear.
Yeah.
Or no, that was the hockey player.
No,
or was it the country music guy?
Country music guy. He just shot a grizzly bear, posted about it, and he's having to defend himself left, right, and center. And I looked at all the comments on his. Oh, I have some right here. Oh, I'm supposed to talk about this with one of the Hunt Quietly dudes tomorrow. So I'm not, or 3 nights from now. So I'm not going to read them because I'll just be repeating myself. But anyway,
Yeah.
man, like, did he get a lot of positive comments? Sure. But those people were already on board with hunting. He got a lot of negative comments. So,
well, let me ask you a question. This is interesting. I want to interrupt you here for a second because I have a question. Because my perspective on this is, well, what do you do if we don't show dead and dying animals? Okay, then and we essentially whitewash all of.
I don't think I don't white. What do you like that
or whatever you want to call it?
That's like, a STEM move.
We're sanitizing.
Okay.
We're sanitizing things. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, so because a dude that works at an abattoir, works for Tyson Foods, doesn't post like chickens getting their heads lopped off. He's whitewashing what he does because he doesn't show the world. Am I whitewashing my biology because I don't take pictures of me taking a shit?
Not exactly what I'm getting at, but I mean, at the same time, I
think this idea that unless you show me the dead thing laying there, you're whitewashing it. Like I just can't. I can't go that far even. Like that's already of like we got to talk about this further.
But over time, if people never see dead animals, then when they see, cows being slaughtered by PETA or chickens with their heads cut off by PETA, then all of a sudden you don't think that moves them farther away from, or maybe to being vegan or maybe you don't care, but you don't think that not seeing things it has any negative impact on the future of and leaving out hunting, even just like from like the slaughter of any animals. My mom has cows. I mean, the one girl who was there when they came to shoot the cow and take care of it, she saw that and it about traumatized the poor girl because she'd never seen anything like that. Do you think that's a concern?
All of human history up until 1985, nobody saw it. There was no digital dead animal content.
But they saw it in everyday life when they had to kill the chicken to eat it.
You're acting like in 1985 that we were still living in like serfdom.
I was born in 88, man. Sorry.
I'm just saying. 85, like we've been a lot of people were extremely disconnected. Most people were extremely disconnected from their meat supply. They weren't seeing a lot of dead animals.
Okay.
And hunting was just as acceptable then, probably more so than now. So no, I don't think people have to have dead animals waved in their face on a regular basis to remain on board with hunting. I think that hunting is the best outlook for hunting is like that hunters are discreet. They make up a small fraction of the population, if for no other reason, because the resource can't support anything more than that. And they do their best to not only portray themselves, but to actually be a positive force for the natural world. I think that's to be discreet, to be respectful, to eschew like monetary considerations, to be humble. I think that's our best path forward. But that's not where we are now.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. Yeah. No,
that's not where that's not where we're at. Like the mainstream is we need to be loud. We need to be in your face. We need to show you dead stuff. We got to try to get everybody to do it.
Yeah, look, that's some interesting points you're making, and I've heard your perspective before, but I do enjoy listening to it. It's fun. But but anyways, yeah, we can get back to the National Deer Association stuff. That's kind of where this was
Yeah,
heading.
yeah, yeah.
I know
Yeah.
we went on a fun
Yeah.
tangent, but
Yeah, right.
so
Yes.
anyways, so we were talking about CWD. That led into back to the topic now, the National Deer Association stuff. My brother actually texted me and says, "Hey man, do you know anything about all this crazy spending going to the National Deer Association?"
Okay.
So I looked into it.
Okay. Oh, good. Ducks Unlimited, 55% of their budget is from the federal government.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So their customer is the government, again, not the
Yep.
hunters,
Right.
not the habitat. It's the government, and government is obviously corrupt. It always has been. Now with the National Deer Association, I filed some public records. I got the actual pictures of the contracts. Right. So for me personally, I like to go into the actual primary sourced material, because people online with AI, with social media, you never know what's real. So when I can show you an actual contract, somebody's actual signature, or I can show you an actual bill passed or show where the votes were, that is something that has really resonated with people. So I post these contracts online, and here's what the contracts say. Missouri pays $128,000 a year. This is just one of their contracts. And they hire 2 employees through the National Deer Association. And in the contract, you can see the wording where they control the Missouri Department of Conservation, not the National Deer Association. The Missouri Department of Conservation controls what their job title is, how much they get paid, what they do, where they go. They're deer outreach specialists, which, by the way, is basically just pushing the CWD propaganda on people, because Jason Sumners wants more CWD restrictions. And the reason he does it that way is that if people in Missouri found out that the Missouri Department of Conservation is just hiring propaganda agents for the department with tax dollars, they would shut that down immediately. So he funnels the money.
Filter through. Okay, it's federal money ultimately.
And that's state money. There's state and federal.
Oh,
There's
okay.
Both. There's 2 buckets there.
This one,
that
okay.
one's state.
Okay.
So
okay.
Now, I don't know, again, so you brought up state and federal money. There's Pittman Roberts money. I have public records requests out on this right now. It's not going to come until October for federal money stuff as well, one of which is their podcast. Do you know what their podcast is? Have you ever heard of it?
Mm-mm.
No, neither has anybody else. I've asked this on so many, like a couple other podcasts I was just on.
Well, yeah, but there's like literally millions of podcasts.
Yeah, but if they gave $266,000 to the National Deer Association's for their podcast and ads, and the measurables on the contract,
see. Okay, that's important. That's important. You're saying,
yep, that's a big deal.
It's a podcast nobody knows about that gets a lot of state funding,
federal money.
This is federal. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's Pittman Roberts money.
Okay.
Like, that's what I asked. I'm pretty sure it's Pittman. That's what I was told.
Okay.
And I filed the records. But anyway, I'll find out about that in October. How do you get like that level of money? We're talking about what's good for hunting and the future of hunting. I mean, what could that money be used for? That money could be used for habitat. I mean, we got all sorts of habitat problems. I mean, it can be used for anything. And the National Deer Association gets, I believe it's about $5 million a year from government money, and about $1 million from their basically old investments from when it was QDMA. People gave them a bunch of land and stuff.
Okay.
So that's their funding structure. So they lose 97% of their paid hunting memberships. Then they stop reporting on it, right? They hide that number now. They haven't reported that number in 2 years now. They hide it in their 990 tax forms.
They obscure the fact that they're no longer getting donor dollars.
Yep. Once it got to 97% gone, they started mixing that.
Why did it decline so precipitously?
Because they started just taking a bunch of government money and just pushing government policies that hunters don't agree with on CWD.
Oh,
that's largely it. Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. And now I'll give the pushback on that. The pushback is they'll say, well, 2020 happened and, the subscription model is dead. Well, the subscription model is stronger than it's ever been. Just look at any Twitch streamer. The kids just give people money. And there's not all, SCI still has money. National, the Turkey Federation, they're still getting money. I mean, I know you said
that's banquet money. Like most
But
of those.
QDMA had the same thing.
Okay. Oh, it's just people stopped going to their banquets.
Yeah, because they
Okay.
didn't like what they were standing for. It was
Oh,
both of those things. I would
that's
go to
that's interesting. That's interesting to me because it's probably. I'm not saying it's this way, that way, the way I'm about to describe everywhere, but in my town, when somebody goes to a Ducks Unlimited banquet or a Mule Deer Foundation banquet or a Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquet or a Walleyes Unlimited banquet, the last thing on their mind is conserving those species. They
getting
want
drunk, right?
they want to drink. They want to eat prime rib. They want to win a raffle item like a gun or whatever, and they want to talk about what a great outdoorsman they are.
Yeah.
So it seems like NDA. I agree. I'll buy what you're saying. It makes a lot of it makes perfect sense, but it seems like they could still have a viable banquet enterprise, even just because people like going to the banquet. I was thinking about starting a banquet nonprofit. What's your mission? To come back here next year and give another banquet. What's the money from this raffle going to go towards? Oh, funding next year's banquet. Just call it the Banquet Foundation, you know?
The Hunter's Banquet, man. Yeah, you could. That thing would be huge.
There's so many conservation dollars that, like dollars that go to conservation, that have nothing to do with conservation. It just cracks me up. Like this, what we're talking about right now is one example, but another example is duck stamps. I mean, people talk a lot about how duck stamp sales have declined through time dramatically. Well, you know what else has declined through time dramatically? Interest in stamp collecting. I mean, it was at its peak in the 80s, right when duck stamp sales were, you know, and like you want to talk, you know, you want to raise more money for conservation. A really good way to do it would be to, would be to scare people into thinking that domestic violence was on the uptick, because then they buy more handguns. You know, I mean,
yeah,
already fear of intruders funds more conservation than maybe even hunters do. You know, fear of intruders, right?
I don't disagree.
I'm not. This is not to make a greater point and say like, ergo, we need to do something differently. It's just interesting to me that so many of the dollars that are targeted towards conservation, like when the person spent the money, that was the last thing on their mind. You know.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That I never even thought about the duck stamp thing that way. But yeah, there's a lot of conservation dollars that are just being wasted through Pittman Roberts, state money, like everything. It's being wasted again, to bring it full circle again, while we're getting nothing but loss after loss after loss, and there's nothing in the win column while we're wasting dollars.
Right.
And you know, so to take National Deer Association, obviously I've crapped on them for eternity now, it seems like, and they're pretty much an illegitimate group at this point. Nobody's really taking them serious, in my opinion.
What? Okay, man, this is an awful lot of momentum. Like, here we have it, that people that work for fish and game management agencies are fear-mongering this disease. And then than a nonprofit that was trying to do the right thing when it comes to white-tailed deer now abandoned their mission, and they're no longer serve a constituency group comprised of hunters, but instead are a government contractor, and what they do is push propaganda around this disease. Doesn't it make you wonder, because you're a curious person, like wonder in a more detailed, granular level, why?
Yes, it definitely does. I ask that question all the time.
Okay.
The only thing I've come up with is that I mean, I hate to always bring it back to it's all about the money, but again, this will really segue into Montana. It's whenever I follow the money, it's, the guy that runs the National Deer Association, he makes $300,000 a year to lose 97% of paid memberships. How is that? How does any person running anything lose 97% of their customers and then just keep making $300,000 a year? That doesn't even make sense to me. It should, he should not have a job.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. So from NDA's standpoint, they saw that they could make more money through government contracts than they could through memberships. And I still wonder why in the world they were offered so much government funding, though.
I haven't figured that out
for a
yet.
disease that you believe, and you're convincing me is a little overblown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what about this? Before we go to Moga, which I'm all ears. I'm a little embarrassed because you're about to tell me a bunch of shit that I don't know about my own state. But I'm man enough. I can take it. I can have you tell me shit about my state. That's cool. Maybe I could tell you. Oh, I bet I could tell you something about your state that you don't know.
All right.
Do you know what a lot of people consider the most important figure in 20th century philosophy is from your state?
I've never heard that.
Yeah, the guy's name is Willard Van Ornen Quine. Have you ever heard of Quine?
Quine.
Quine.
Don't know. I don't think so. Maybe.
Yeah.
What did he do that made him that important?
He was an analytic philosopher. And,
okay.
And in philosophy, an age-old distinction has been the distinction between analytic propositions. Analytic propositions are propositions that are true by the virtue of the meaning of the words involved. Like 2 + 2 = 4, or Socrates was a man. All men are mortal. Socrates was immortal. Like, it's true by the virtue of the meaning of the words involved. And synthetic statements are built up out of experience. Like, you measure a bunch of people and you go, the average height of a person is 5'3" or whatever it is. It's built up out of experience. And that was considered a pretty, like, a distinction that carved nature at its joints. And he wrote this paper in 1955 called Two Dogmas of Empiricism. The other dogma's a little bit more technical and hard to explain, but where he took issue with that, what seems to be pretty fundamental distinction. But anyway, before you tell me about your state, but before you tell me about my state, I had to do that just to show, motherfucker, I can tell you shit about your state too.
Right? Yeah. No, but you know where I get all. Here's the thing. The thing where I get all of my information from your state is I average about 15 phone calls per day from Montana, 406 area code, right? Like at 406 rings on my phone nonstop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So people get real chatty with me online. Because my phone number is, I literally post my phone number on my Facebook page, like
Okay.
just so people can call me. I like
Okay.
talking to average guys.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah,
talking
yeah.
to people. That
Yeah,
keeps
that's
me
cool.
grounded. That keeps me from being part of the industry and the ego of, what the industry is like in hunting. It connects me to the average everyday guy, and I love talking to them. Enough of these people. I get calls from all sorts of people, but I like that. And so everything I know about Montana comes from me just reading and from talking to. I've probably taken 200 phone calls from Montana over the last 2 weeks, and it's just
What?
nonstop. Yeah. Absolutely. I pick up as many as I can to talk to them. That's how I'm getting this information.
Okay,
fact,
just for anybody that's like, just so people follow the thread, it's because you've been making noise on your Facebook, which is called
Rack Junkies.
You've been making noise about Montana and Moga on there. Okay.
Yeah. So how it started, I'll give you my first post. The first post I did, because I never thought I was going to jump into this. I saw the corner crossing issue pop up, and I knew what it was. I understand the basics of it, but I'm an Ohio guy, so I don't. It's not really much of an issue for us. But it intrigued me, and the governor Gene Forte and the lieutenant governor are like against it in Montana. And with all the connections that I have in politics, I know that politicians make decisions for a reason, right? And it's normally for votes. It's votes are money, and money equals votes. So it's always about trading in the currency of votes to get power. And I didn't understand why he would possibly, why would that administration possibly be against corner crossing when the majority of people are for it? I didn't understand. So I put out an initial post to hold myself accountable. I do this.
Well, you'd say the same thing about the Iran war right now.
Right. But I put out this post to hold myself accountable. I go, I'm going to follow the money in Montana because this doesn't make sense to me, just like with CWD or NDA. I start out curious and I say, I don't know what I believe yet, but I'm going to follow the money. If there's billionaires, and this is in my post, you can go back. The first post I wrote about Montana, I said, if there's billionaires funding the campaign of Governor Gene Forte.
No, Governor Gene Forte isn't running for office. He's term limited. He will cease.
Yes, now he is.
He will cease to be our governor in November. Now, I don't know if I don't know who's running for governor. Is this lieutenant governor running for governor?
I just saw people were messaging me about it, and I haven't read them yet because I guess the election was last night?
The primary.
I think it was last night. The primary, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw people.
Well,
hunters I know.
Let's pause for a second. Get our heads around this.
Okay.
The reason we got confused, ladies and gentlemen, is because I'm an idiot, and I thought that the governor's race was in Montana was 2026 this year, but it's not till 2028. So, one can imagine all kinds of reasons why Greg Gianforte would want to maintain a vigorous donor base. Maybe he wants to be president. I mean, he was talking about running for president in 2024. Big time.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking. That's what I thought I would find, but I actually didn't find that. I downloaded his entire donor list. I looked through every super PAC. I didn't find these super rich billionaires donating this guy's campaign. And it didn't make sense to me. So I was actually wrong. It wasn't what I thought. And what I ended up finding was that a lot of the support he was getting from the hunting community all came from Moga. And so
okay, that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I didn't even know about them. So I wrote a post on Moga and said, hey, listen, these are, there's public land, private land guides. I know there's differences there. I know that there's some guides that are block management. Landowners that let people on their property and help people get to public land. Those guys are great. They should be, praised. But I
have a nonprofit devoted to supporting that.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
I wanted to talk to you about that and do a post about it
Okay.
on Rack Junkies and like direct people there
Oh,
because
thank you.
I'm so involved in
Thank you.
Montana.
We
Yeah,
have,
we will. We'll do something
well,
for
it's
sure.
not just in Montana. We got a chapter in Wyoming, Kansas, Minnesota. Yeah, we're trying to grow this thing, provide some access for the next generation. So,
Yeah, exactly. So that all happened. I realized that it was these outfitters and these big landowners that were blocking off all of this public land with their private land and not letting anybody get through. Again, this took me a little while to like wrap my head around it. And I'm getting all these calls every day. I'm trying to like decipher which people are sending me information and telling me information that's just some guy mad he didn't get his tag versus somebody who has a legitimate concern. There's a lot of like sifting through
there's a
that.
lot of
Obviously,
noise, a lot of white
yeah,
noise. Yeah.
yeah. Again, 200 phone calls in 2 weeks. I've
That
got a
is
lot of noise.
wild. You
Yeah.
are either extremely curious about this stuff, extremely concerned, or both.
Both. Yeah, it's both. I'm a very curious person by nature, but
Yeah.
anyway, so I start talking to all these people. I look, I see that it's Moga. I write a post about them saying, look, this is part of the problem. Part of the problem is that the people that have a seat at the table, the people who have all the pictures with the governor and lieutenant governor, and again, we'll get to Senator Galt here soon, but like all those pictures are all with Moga. And they have again, I want to give a special shout out to their lobbyist, Mark Taylor. That guy, every single slimy stone I unturned, that guy's name is there in everything. Everything. I could go on. It's every phone call. It's like, look into this guy. I know. So I look into it. I write a post, and these guys from Moga, they put out a press release on me. And it's very dishonest. They claim that they don't. They're like, well, in 2025, we didn't take a stance on corner crossing. Okay, that's not what I said. Do you have a stance on it? Let's hear it. Like, speak up. Like let's hear it. And they don't. So it was a very dishonest press release. So I got on their page and I replied and said, okay, well, what about your president? I forget the guy's name.
Rod
but
Paschke.
blocked off 20,000. Yeah, Rob Paschke, who blocked off 20,000 acres of prime elk habitat on a public road. Like, well, again, I want to be careful that I don't get sued. I mean, it was his outfit, the property he was leasing. There's a big, gate
It's
across
called
the
it's called
road.
Seven. It's called Seven Blackfoot Ranch.
Yeah, and what is it, Sizzle and S Outfitters?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
where you're getting all this is because of my confrontation with him.
That's why your name came up so much.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, he was on this podcast. He was one of the very first episodes. But yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, I wanted to go look into an area up there. I hung up around his lease, and I was wondering if I could park in this particular spot, and it wasn't clear if it was a public road or not. So I contacted the sheriff's department, and they told me that it was fine to park there. And then I contacted the head game warden in my area, and he as well said it was fine to park there. But then, so I went and recreated for a couple days, and then when I came out, there was a note on my vehicle from the landowner. His last name is Solberg. He made his money in the computer industry, and he bought a ranch up there two, 3 decades ago. And I called him, and he was pretty unhappy that I had parked there. And as soon as I got off the phone with him, I got a call from the head of Moga, Rod Paschke, the Sizzle and S dude, and it got pretty acrimonious with him. And ever since then, it's been, I don't even know where it is now. This nonprofit, I told this nonprofit PLWA, Public Land Wildlife Association, about it, and they were looking into it, but I haven't heard from them in quite some time, so I'm not sure if that's something that they're still looking into or not, but I can say this with absolute certainty. I'm more certain of this than I am that I'm sitting in a chair in my kitchen right now that Moga hates corner crossing. Moga hates the DIY hunter. Moga would do anything in their power to make it so that the only people that could hunt in Montana were people that paid them money to hunt. That's what would make them most happy. And when they tiptoe and dance around shit to make it seem like that's not the case, is because that they realize that there's political constraints on what they can and can't achieve. So that's where that's what Moga is. That's what I mean. That's a lot, and it's not, it goes way beyond Moga. I mean, there's just a lot of interest in the United States in making as much money as possible from hunting. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that was the thing.
And to argue about. Like to take this like, I find it difficult to take a neoconservative perspective on that necessarily, ultimately, it has to be the case that what is best for the market is what's best for the hunter. I struggle to see where that's the case.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But no, so that whole thing, I put out that post and they blocked me on Facebook. They put up a press release on me, and it was dishonest, and it was basically the things you were just talking about. And they said, "Oh, we're pro access." That was part of it.
Oh,
now, by the way, I have screenshots of it. Trust me, because they took it down since then because they look dumb for doing it. And so they put up this whole press release, and I get on there and say, well, let's look at your president and what he did here. Let's look at this board member and what they did. I just looked all their stuff up. It's not hard for me to find this stuff. I know how to do it. I was like, well, what about your statements on corner cross? I just went like line by line by line, like everything about their organization, saying, I'm going to look into every bit of this now. You want to put out this dishonest statement on me? Okay, fine. Let's look into you.
Right.
I'm gonna get every 990 tax form. I'm gonna find everything. Like I said,
that guy Rod Paschke has on his hunting leases. He has cell phone or cell cameras all over the borders of his properties that he leases, and he's like he's a burr under the foreskin of Fish and Game, because he's constantly calling them to report people that like their toe went over the edge of the line for a second while they were trying to get around a gunyon or whatever, like this is a person that, in as much as they say that they are a champion of the grassroots hunting community, it's like,
yeah.
No, the ranch in question right now, the 7 Blackfoot Ranch, that used to be in block management. That used to be a place that everybody could go. And well over half that ranch is federal land. Yeah, well, you knew that part already.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So the idea that this person is a friend, a champion of the public land hunter, or a champion of access, it's just, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the statement they put out on me was actually written by Will Israel. And I don't know if you know that guy or not. He's like their vice president or something. Like he's way up there, and he wrote this whole thing on me, and so. But when he blocked me, and so I wrote a post and put that Saki guy. I put his face on the post and just said, look, this is Moga's president. This is who he is. This is what they're saying. I'm going to look into every aspect. And it's got 3-4 million views now. That one post does, because people were, yeah, it got a lot of reach. That's what started like the real phone calls where people would call me nonstop from that 406 area code nonstop. Just like, hey, you don't even know the half of it with this guy, and with everybody. In fact, it's people inside of Moga calling me, people inside of the FWP that are calling me, people that work for the governor and lieutenant governor have called me. People that like all these, yeah, it's like I can't say any of their names because most of my conversations start with, hey, you can't tell me, you can't talk about who I am because I work for this foundation, that foundation. I am literally a Moga member. I used to be. One former board member of Moga called me. I'm not going to say names or anything, but that's who's calling me.
What would happen? What would happen if you just said, "Hey, I don't have conversations like that. All my conversations are on the record."
If it's people giving me direction on where to look, that's fine. Now, Will Israel, who is a member of Moga, is calling me on Friday. I've got a call with. When does this come out? Is it going to come out before Friday? Or
I could make it if it's important to you, but
no. Not till after Friday. So I've got a call with him, and it was really weird. He messaged me. He sent me this email about my business partner, who's a Purple Heart vet. He talked about all the great things that they do with veterans, and I'm like, and he's a veteran. I'm like, okay, yeah, you can do good and bad things in your life. And it is very confusing. It was 3, and I'm just putting this out there before this conversation happens, so that everybody knows that it's recorded before then. He put, it was 3 paragraphs about how he wanted to talk with me and my business partner, who has not written anything about Montana, and he's like adamant about having him on there, and just talking about all the hunts they do with these veterans and all that kind of stuff. And and I want to have and then it's just one sentence at the end. I want to have a good faith conversation with you, and so that we can talk about Moga, right? So that's where it stands right now. I'm not saying anything. I'm not talking about what's going to be offered or what's going to where the pressure is going to come. But I know how politics works, and the email was clearly written with some sort of attorney reading it before it was sent.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. Like that you have such a big reach, because when you say something concerning, they have to you put enough pressure on them that they've got to try to do something about it. They've got to try to appeal to you in some way. That's awesome. I'm very happy because I'm aligned with you. What I'm aligned with you that you have that it's just, yeah, it's inspiring like that, and that you don't become a sellout. You're like, no, yeah. I'm going to say that this is messed up. And yeah, when you get to be a point where you got 1 million people checking out what you have to say, it gets under their skin when you're saying something negative about them. To the point where they reach out to you. That's one of the few things that are beneficial about social media. Is that people like you that otherwise wouldn't be able to get their message out there to a large audience are able to do so.
Yeah.
It makes
what the best compliment? I got a compliment from like online. I hear this all the time. They're like, Nick Shirley, that 22-year-old kid with the hoodie that walked in Minnesota and was like, hey, where are all the kids at? You know that guy? So it was like all that Somali fraud going on in Minnesota that was exposed. It was exposed by some 22-year-old kid in a hoodie named Nick Shirley, who walked up to the Quality Learning Center, because they couldn't even spell learning, and he stuck a microphone in their face, goes, hey, where are all the kids at? You got $9 million. Where are the kids? And just exposed all the fraud that simple. And just by asking questions. He's massive on
because it was some kind
people have been calling me.
It was some kind of nonprofit that was supposed to be helping kids.
Yeah, and they're just scamming money. And so people have been like calling me, like I get this comment a lot, like, you're the Nick Shirley of the hunting community.
Oh,
I'm
that's
taking
great.
that as a compliment a challenge. challenge.
That's
Okay.
great.
Like
Yeah.
I take that as such a compliment.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great, man. That's great.
but you know where it
I'm
gets
so
even deeper though? I want to get into one other thing here about
okay.
like outside of just Moga. So Moga, obviously, I think a lot of your listeners and you know what kind of corruption goes on there, and you kind of summarized it better than I
They're
ever have.
just
For saying that
if
they're
what you
not for
care about
access.
is publicly accessible, high quality, non-pay hunting, the traditions that have defined hunting in America since the restoration of game populations in this country since the 30s. You can't construe of them as anything but the enemy. They are the enemy. They're just
Yeah.
They don't want you to be able to go where you want, when you want. They don't want you to be able to go to hunt what you want, when you want. Like, it's just clearly the case that they look at wildlife and see dollar signs, and that's all they care about. Like, I mean, it's just absolutely the case, you know? So anyway,
Yeah.
and I'd
But that's
say the
actually not
same.
even the
I'd say
dirtiest
the
thing.
same thing about all private land outfitters. I'm not. This isn't exclusive to Montana. I'd say that all private land outfitters are adversarial to the grassroots traditional hunting and fishing community. How could you see them otherwise? They're trying to profiteer off the thing that makes hunting possible. Access to the creatures.
Okay. So to kind of go off of that point a little bit with in Montana, and this goes into Senator Galt, okay, Wiley Galt, who I've written about. It seems that a lot of the tag allocations in Montana are preferential to private land owners. That doesn't seem to be the case in other states.
Well, except New Mexico. That's the worst. I mean,
they're worse than Montana.
Oh, yeah, and I could put you in touch.
I gotta look into that.
Yeah, well, I could.
I'm gonna write that down.
I know a guy that is devoting his life to trying to reform tag allegations in New Mexico. His name is Brandon Wynn. He's been on the podcast a couple times. No, it's way, 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 way worse in New Mexico. They have landowner tags there, which we don't have in Montana, where it's, oh, you own X number of tags. Here you go. I mean, X number of acres. Here you go. You get this many tags. Do with them what you will. And they can sell them to whoever they want for how much they want. So they the people that own the most land get the most handouts in terms of the public's wildlife. Another state that's not quite as bad, but it's pretty bad, is Utah. And the difference between Utah and New Mexico is that at least in Utah, if you get these tags, we're going to give you these tags, Mr. Landowner, and you can sell them for $100,000 to Joe Rogan, etc. But you have to let on X number of hunters that draw a tag. You have to let on, you get these 100 tags that you sell for $30,000 a piece, but you got to let these 10 people on that drew this kind, so they're a little more equitable. They're Utah's a little better in terms of allocating the public's wildlife, but yeah, New Mexico is the worst. Yeah,
I'll be looking into that.
A lot of effort goes into here in Montana among sportsmen, and you now too. Although you may not fully realize it, and what we're trying to avoid is a New Mexico or a Utah situation. So,
do you think it's moving more towards that direction?
Yeah, because of people like my brother and Rogan and the hunting public and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you create a market for something, and people are going to try to monopolize it. It's just human nature.
Yeah. Well, that gets into the this Wiley Galt guy. Do you know that he sits? So the interesting thing about him, obviously, the Galt family, that's just connected to the lieutenant
The
governor in your
Galt
state.
Ranch, right?
Yeah,
Is she from the Galt family?
yeah. She's
Okay,
like a cousin.
okay.
Yeah, and so she, she's against corner crossing. Obviously, she came out very strongly against that. Now, I looked it up, and she's not even the most corrupt one. It's this Wiley Galt. He's a sitting state senator. I believe he used to be your Speaker of the House. He has it's the Conservation Society or the
Yeah,
Conservation
they always
something.
name it something like that. They always name it
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Now, but here's
You
what it
read
is.
it,
Let me explain
like
what this
half the
is.
time when you read the name of some organization, it sounds like something that is beneficial. It means they're trying to fuck you.
And that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
So what happens is it's like five guys. It's him, it's this Ben Lamb guy. I forget the other guys, and then they hire. So basically, it's privately funded. There's no members. They set up this conservation, this thing that sounds really nice. He's a sitting U.S. senator. Now, his committee assignment is he is the chair of the Natural Resources Committee, right? That Wiley Galt is. You can look this up on the on the government website. Now, this organization that he started with his friends and they privately fund, hire a lobbyist, Mark Taylor. Again, this guy comes up under every slimy stone in that state when it comes to hunting. And they lobby the same committee that he sits on. So the Natural Resources Committee is lobbied by a group that the chair started. Wiley Galt started this conservation society with his friends. They hire a lobbyist to lobby himself and all the people under him to get things passed. I swear this is all, like, you can look this up. I posted about it. I literally had to call people and be like, this can't be real. Like, how is this not? I called people that I know in state governments elsewhere saying, this has to be illegal, right? Tell me, I'm going to get sued for saying something stupid because I don't understand it. This can't be real. And it's completely real. This guy is him, and I don't know who's putting the money in. Obviously, it's a private organization. You can't see all that. But him and his friend, and they're a billionaire family, whatever, however much they're worth, are just lobbying themselves to get what's good for themselves. As the chair of how is this guy? I don't know how Montana is okay with Wiley Galt being the chair of that committee.
It's the self-licking ice cream cone.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's crazy. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
do people do people in Montana just not know this? Because that shouldn't be allowed. He should be forced to step down from being the chair of the Natural Resources Committee. He should be forced to do that if he's going to lobby his own committee and start his own group like that.
Yeah,
that can't be allowed.
It's pretty wild. I don't know what people think. That people are pretty bought in to Republican politicians, and if you're a Republican politician, then they're pretty willing to accept that you're operating in their best interests, and it's pretty easy to be dismissed as it's like a left leaning I don't know what, libtard or whatever, or social justice warrior, whatever.
Woke.
Yeah, all that. Like, so yeah, there's this lack of critical thinking. It's odd to me because when it comes to federal politics, national politics, I'm pretty broad. I'm going to vote for candidates that are aligned with my greater interests. But I'm pretty much a single issue voter in my own state, and I think that's a consequence partly of the fact that I live in a hunting and fishing state, a state where hunting and fishing is pretty fundamental. So I vote for the candidate that I think is going to do the best job of looking out for the workaday outdoors person. And I think and it's kind of wild because I think that there's more outdoors people on the right in Montana, and I think that when there's, but I think that the politicians in Montana that are most aligned with the sportsman's community in this state are politicians on the left. So I don't know what you do with that, you know.
I would say for me personally, like I understand the people that are annoyed with, I got young kids, and we saw some of the transing kids stuff and books and things like that in schools. And I understand not wanting to vote for Democrats because of how crazy they got. Because I mean, there's a pendulum in politics, obviously, and the Democrats got too crazy for me. And so,
absolutely,
ask, like,
absolutely, like way disgustingly so. Yeah.
Yeah. So my political affiliation is a not Democrat. Like, I'm not voting for them. But that doesn't mean that the Republican still doesn't have to earn my vote. I can sit out. In Ohio, we have this Vivek Ramaswamy running for governor.
Oh, is that? I knew he was running for governor, and I didn't know it was there. Okay.
Yeah. And he's a Hindu. And look, I don't need you to eat meat for me to vote for you. But I actually got to ask him a question through a state rep who's great. She helped me get a question in front of hundreds of people. And I asked him, like, well, how are you going to manage hunting and fishing? And this guy, like, it was the worst answer ever. We started talking about the Second Amendment. Let's then talking about the Second Amendment. And I'm like, what? And he's like, Second Amendment ain't about hunting. Okay, go on. What are you talking about? Like, I asked about hunting. So what are you going to talk about? He rambles for like 3 minutes about fentanyl and drug overdoses and all sorts of stuff. Doesn't talk about hunting. So for me, I look at that and go, well, I'm not voting for the Democrat running the state. She's just a less informed, dumber white Kamala Harris. She's not qualified to run anything. Okay, she's horrible. I'm not voting for her. But Vivek still has to earn my vote from the Republican side. I can just not vote for governor.
How long has he been a citizen of Ohio?
That's hard to say. I mean, he did kind of grow up here.
Oh, he did?
I don't remember.
Yeah, okay, he's got a long history there. Okay, but here's the thing. You could grow up in Cleveland or Akron and just not have any exposure to hunting and fishing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you encountered there with your question is somebody. I give him a lot of grace with this because he's probably just somebody that has never been encouraged or convinced or coerced into or had to think about hunting and fishing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, he spent his whole life in urban centers. So
yeah,
the fact that he rambled, I mean, the fact that he obscured, that his answer was vague or whatever, I'd say that it's because he hasn't been forced to develop an opinion on it. I mean, you got I said this earlier, but 95% of the people in this country don't engage in these activities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be frustrated with him about that.
So it goes a little deeper than that because, like, I've talked to this campaign manager and stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, they like I said, listen, I get it. I have this huge platform. I get millions. Like, I've put out videos of him and I've written posts on him. I said, listen, you need to answer this question. There's state reps, state senators pushing him like, yeah, listen, there's a lot of hunters in Ohio. You got to answer this. He went to an SCI show, or it was like 50 dudes at an SCI, Ohio SCI
What's
convention,
that?
which is Safari Club International.
Oh,
It's,
okay,
it's like all the rich,
Yeah,
high
yeah,
fence and
yeah.
African hunters, like that's who.
Mhm.
So he went to just go meet with 50 really rich dudes that hunt and talk to them, as opposed to answer to me. Dude, I get massive amounts of reach. And I've talked to his campaign manager. I said, listen, just have him sit down and talk with me. All of this pressure against him will go away. And the question is simple. How are you going to manage hunting and fishing in Ohio? I need to know you're not going to screw me over. That's all. Like, it's not even a hard question. I will give you the entire platform that you need. Just answer my question in front of people. And so far, he hasn't done it. But the pressure is going to build, and I've got a special place in my heart for Ohio. So I'm going to make sure that he answers that question, or it's going to cause him problems in the election. Like, pick
Oh
one or the other.
well, okay. I believe that you have some sway in our little community, but I think you might be getting a little cocksure there because
Oh
what
yeah.
percent of people in Ohio hunt and fish?
Between the two of them, it's 2 to 3 million out of 10 or 11 million people that hunt or fish,
Oh, okay. I was getting a little cocksure.
and it's a close election. No,
Okay,
I
okay.
agree. Like,
I
if he
was
doesn't have to do it.
I was okay, but still, that's in a close selection. That's something you should be paying attention to. So okay,
Yeah, and I'm hoping
I
I'm
was
all
getting a
about
little
it.
big for my britches there. I apologize.
I do that all the time. Don't worry. Look, I'm trying to get the governor to talk to me on a Facebook page, so I might be getting big for my britches too. But if like I still stand by the people that are going to run my state have to answer questions on hunting and fishing, and that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking about anything else. I just want to know. Don't screw me over and go on the record, say you're not going to do these things, and we can move on. That's all I want. I just want a commitment
Yeah.
from the governor to not and to back the idea of having a constitutional right to hunt in Ohio. That's the other thing I want him to commit to, and we'll see if he does it or not. And I'll do as much as I can to push back if he doesn't. And if he does, listen, I'll try to help that guy get elected more than anybody. I actually like the guy. I think he's going to be good for our state overall. I really do.
Are hunting and fishing rights broadly under threat in your state?
Not really. It's kind of like everywhere else. We got some weird CWD laws coming in that I don't like. They won't
Okay,
let me
but
hunt
yeah,
with
but
an
that,
Appalachian,
but
which I find to be-
a constitutional right to hunt and fish isn't. Well, are those related?
we don't have it.
Yeah, but
We
I'm
don't
saying,
have it right now.
is that going to help you
There's a
with
push for it.
Is that would help you against the antis? If the
Yes.
antis, but would it help you with CWD?
No, it would help me with the antis
Okay.
and limiting like certain types of hunting. It would.
I
it's
just
a
see
win,
this.
It's a small win.
I just see this emphasis on anti-hunting threats
hmm
with you, but more broadly, I'd say it's a mainstream concern. And I just when I look around at the threat, when I do my threat assessment, it's just so far down.
So there's two sides to that. I agree with you on one end because anti-hunters look completely stupid online all the time. Like PETA's not winning any arguments, right? Like when they're
No,
sitting there
land
covering
trust
themselves
and
in blood.
infinite outdoors and HRLBO and
Yes.
whitetail properties. They're the ones winning the arguments.
No, I agree with that. I do. Like it's not that
And
PETA's winning any arguments.
Lease Land Outfitters are the ones who've won the arguments.
Yeah, I just don't want. I just want to make sure. And politics is revolved around pressure and influence, and I want to make sure that the hunting community has at least some influence here in Ohio.
Okay.
Again, like I'm
Okay.
doing everywhere, and that's really the broader goal here. Is so what if he doesn't talk to me? As long as he knows that hunters are watching and putting pressure on him.
Oh
and concerned
yeah.
about him,
Oh,
he's not
that's
going to do anything.
yeah. But it
So
sounds
even if I
like
don't
your
get what I want, I
question.
still win.
He was a babe in the woods when he received your question, is what I would guess.
I agree. And I gave him that credit when I got calls from, certain state reps and state senators going, hey, he's got to answer. I said, listen, I get it. He doesn't have a fully formed answer on this. I fully understand. He's not that guy. He finds it morally wrong to hunt and fish because of his religion,
Oh,
which
he
is my bigger
does?
concern as a Hindu. Yeah, he's a Hindu. Yeah. It's morally against the religion. That's my biggest concern here.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, will
Hindus
he
are
do anything?
in the Hindu religion, hunting is categorically banned or like
So
not
he is of
acceptable.
yes and no. So for the Hindus, yes. So he is of the Avedante tradition. I've read up on all this.
Okay, okay.
Basically, it's one of
Well,
those where he's
this
against it.
completely negates what I've been saying for the last 15 minutes. I was coming at this thinking this is a person that hasn't developed a perspective on hunting and fishing. What you're telling me now, what you're educating me as to now is that his religion forbids it.
For him, yes, but they also of the Avedante tradition, his specific one, it says, "Hey, don't tell other people that they can't." Like there's some gray area in there to work with.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, to
okay,
be fair to
okay,
him,
okay.
I've read
Like
up on it.
we don't do it. Oh, it's the difference between being normative and descriptive. When you're descriptive, you're saying, I don't engage, my people don't do this thing. When you're normative, being normative, you're saying, my people don't do this thing, nor should your people. So he's
Yeah,
descriptive, more descriptive than normative.
that's my best understanding of it
Okay,
as of right now.
okay,
Again, I'm not
okay.
Hindu, but I did read
Man,
up a lot. So
yeah, this is awesome, man. This is awesome. I'm learning a lot right now. So this is great. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
so that's why
cool.
I put pressure on them. I think putting pressure on politicians from hunter perspective is the best way to make sure they don't screw you over. Because politicians, look what they're doing to you guys in Montana. You guys don't put pressure on them because you want to vote for Republicans, and then the Republicans screw you. You got to put pressure on your own party, and that's what I'm
Yep.
doing here in Ohio
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Vivek.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yep. It's absolutely the case. To me, it's it, it's incredibly surprising here in Montana that we have what we have still. I'd say that more broad. Well, there's some states where, even Ohio, where in other Midwest states where it seems things have gotten to where you would expect they would get. It's largely privately owned land, and it's very, very, there's the vast majority of it you can't hunt on,
mhm.
and to me, it's surprising that here there's that it's as good as it is still when there's so many people intent with deep pockets and intent on making it less accessible, So yeah, it blows my mind that I've gotten to do this thing that I love to do for so long when there's so many people that wish I couldn't.
Yeah, really.
So, hey, this was awesome. I had no idea what to expect, but it turns out I learned a lot, and I'm so fucking on board with what you're trying to do, and it's really inspirational that you've built a big enough audience that that when you come out against somebody that's screwing hunters and fishermen, that it makes people pucker their ass and give you a call. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the old follow on the Insta right now so that I can make sure that I can keep track of. Or are you on Insta or just Facebook?
I think we have it. It's mostly just Facebook where I
Okay.
post everything.
All right. I'm gonna start keeping an eye out so that I can see what you got going on and see if there's ways I can help out. But you're having a lot more success than I am in terms of keeping this thing that we love alive. And I'm very appreciative for that, for you doing what you do.
Yeah, and when you go to put this out, let me know. I'll do a post on your nonprofit because I've listened to some of your podcasts and I've heard you talk about it somewhat. But if there's anything you want me to talk about on there, just let me know. I think it's important for us to actually not just complain, but to have real solutions. Sometimes I get kind of pigeonholed into that where I'm attacking and looking for all the bad things happening and trying to uncover them and not covering the good stuff enough. And I know with your hunter access thing, with your nonprofit, I think that's really important. So we'll do a post on that and push that out there when the podcast comes out, and I think it could be good for you.
Yeah. If hunters and the hunting industry got serious about making sure people had places to go when they want to hunt and fish, it would go a long, long ways, and that's what the whole Hunters for Access thing is predicated on. We have 6.9 million acres enrolled in our block management program. Kansas has 1.2 million acres enrolled in their walk-in hunter access program. Wyoming has 2.5 million acres enrolled in their Access Yes program. And our nonprofit is devoted to thanking landowners that make all that possible. And I think it's that those resources, that their willingness to open the door to the common man, they get paid for it. I'm not going to lie and say this is just doing it just out of the goodness of their heart. But in many, many cases, they could make much more money going with an outfitter or with a private land lease company. And I don't know, to me, a huge part of the picture in terms of keeping hunting and fishing viable in this country is landowners being willing to open their doors and let people on. So that's what our goal is with all that stuff. You probably have some little access program in your state. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure you do. A lot of them are funded through VPA HIP, the Voluntary Public Access Habitat Improvement Program, as part of the Farm Bill. And
yes, there's some of those things going on in Ohio, but we have so little public land here. I mean, it's so little public land.
Well, this is private land. This is allowing access to private land. If the Farm Bill ever passed, there's a huge increase, like a $50 million increase earmarked for VPA HIP. So
okay, that's what you're talking on the last podcast about, then, right? Like about the Farm Bill passing and all that money.
Yeah, I remember talking about it recently.
Yeah, I was trying to look into that a little bit.
And again, in terms of, even in my mind, if the goal is to maintain public acceptance of hunting, and you want to have advocates, well, people need to have quality experiences if they're going to advocate. If you want, you want hunters to be impassioned enough to fight for the future of our cherished pastime, then they got to have quality experiences, and they can't have that if they don't have places to go. So access is chief amongst our concerns, I'd say. So, I would love it if you did a little outreach on hunters for access. And we don't do a very good job at publicizing what we do. We do a lot of work projects. We do a lot of gift giving, so to access providers. So if you want some, I would even be willing to write you a little progress report. I need to do that anyway. So
yeah, write it up and send it to me, and we'll get it out there and I'll promote it.
Okay.
I'm good at getting eyeballs. I'm good at that. So
good.
We'll put it on there.
I'll
do it for something good.
I'll put together a little 20, 25, 26, what we have accomplished paragraph or two and send it to you. That'd be awesome if you'd share that. I mean, it doesn't do me any good. Hunters for Access does nothing but take up my time and money, but and that's just the way it's going to be. I don't take any money for anything I do. It's just the more publicity we get, the more money and time it costs me personally. But in terms of, making sure people have places to go, yeah, it'd be great if you'd put something out for us. So, all right. Sure. Hey, man, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. I really enjoyed it.
Me too. Good night.
All right. Bye.